because I was 19 when he proposed that, and he was my god, really. During my youth, I've read all his books, I had all his recordings. When he came to Europe, because, you know, he left France at this moment, on tour with different orchestras, I would travel to Switzerland or to any country to hear him. This was really, wouldn't say the goal of my life, because I wouldn't have expected to work with him, but he was really something indescribable. And then when he proposed that, I think I've kept a clear mind to say, well, okay, but only in the case I keep my freedom. So I accept for 1/3 contract, but not more. And I think this allowed me to develop other ranges of activity, a part of Ensemble d'Art Contemporain, and to give my breath and blood for the ensemble, because a part of that, I knew that I could have activities with traditional repertories, other people, and things that I would do only on my own. And this was fantastic. The ensemble years were really overwhelming, and with him to work with such an Mount Everest, as I always say, is unique. It's the best chance, best possible chance.
Maestro Jourdain, what about you and your start with music? You played the piano and the violin. I don't know which is your chosen instrument these days.
Piano. I started with 6, so 1 year later. That's probably I never made it.
You see.
Yeah. Violin 8. I made it less with violin. It wasn't my instrument, but it was very helpful for my job to know lots about string instruments, and it was very, very helpful.
Well, when you talk about your job, when did you choose conducting?
For me, it was clear with 8 or 9. I always wanted to do that.
That early?
I don't know why, but it was always fascinated by what my father was doing, because in the house there was a piano, there were recordings, there were scores, there were vocal scores. I could visit my father in my school holidays to see him rehearse. There was actually very few chances I could see him at all, because he was always traveling. And so this was very, very exciting to me, and I like this idea of working together with people and being creative and leading people to get lots of people to work together and make something wonderful. This was the exciting part of it for me, and definitely in the opera, which was the theater. My mother was a ballet dancer, so it all came together from this side. It was the creative side, it was the voices, it was the text, it were the set designs, it was the stage direction. All these things excited me very much. Yeah.
Well, Maestro Aimard has begun conducting in the last couple of years, working with the Mahler Chamber Orchestra and another ensemble, I believe. So it's a new foray into this field of conducting. How has that new work been for you? I saw you in Lucerne this past summer, and the musicians, we didn't see your face, but the other musicians, they looked like they were having the time of their lives playing with you.
You're very kind. Maybe you have not wear your glasses on that day.
I was in the back of the hall. I was very far away.
You know, believe me, conducting is a proper profession. You have to do that your entire life long. You have to be talented for that. And if you want to make it properly, you have to give your whole life for that. So I am not, and I will never be a conductor in the sense of a professional activity, full activity. I could say, in the noble sense of the term, this is maybe a hobby. If I have hobbies, I try to make it well. I'm maybe not talented for these hobbies, but then give me a lot of fun. But I know the danger, of course, of the temptation of believing that you become a conductor and then making what you should not do with incompetence. I hope to avoid this danger. And I know also how this kind of activity can keep you far away from your instrument and how you can lose your muscles. And that I hope also not to do.
And when you say muscles, you're not talking about just your fingers.
Well, the whole body. I mean, the whole way of realizing something instrumentally that makes that, with a certain training, you realize it at the best of your forces, and very fast you can notice that even with the best talents, it's not really the best the person could do.
I think the story is attributed to Rubinstein, that he said that on the first day that he didn't practice, he could tell. On the second day that he didn't practice, the critics could tell. And on the third day, everybody could tell.
And there are some people telling the same story. They're a bit more cynical, but the order is not exactly the same. So you can invent any order you wish.
Well, you knew, Maestro Jodin, when you wanted to be a conductor. When did you know that you were one? When did you know? Because as Maestro Aimard says, if you're not a conductor, you can become flattered with the idea of yourself being a conductor.
It was a process, because how do you learn conducting? That's the big question.
It's a mystery. The whole thing is a mystery.
Exactly. Where do you start? Of course, there are great schools where you can study conducting and can learn quite a lot. And if people who have talent for that, they definitely will get somewhere with that. But it's a practical job, because you have Pierre-Laurent has his piano to practice. Joshua Bell has his violin to practice. Yeah, what does a conductor do? Yeah, you can't practice on an orchestra. It's impossible. You get there and have to do it, and it has to be somehow right. So I had the chance to go the traditional German way through the theaters, starting in a small theater where I started in Ulm in Germany, where I was just a repetitory for a few years, and a Kapellmeister where I could learn my job by doing. So starting, of course, playing musicals, operettas, all the staging rehearsals, work with the singers on their parts, teaching the actors the notes, teaching probably have some staging rehearsals where you start to conduct a chorus and with a piano. Suddenly there will be a stage and orchestra rehearsal where the conductor wants to listen, puts you in the pit and let you do 10 minutes. And then suddenly there's the day you have to do a performance, because the conductor doesn't do all the 45 performances of Funny Girl. So that's where you get pushed into the pit and just have to swim. And
is that a show that you did? You did Funny Girl?
Yeah, it was my first one, actually. Yeah, exactly. In German. It must be terrible for New Yorkers to hear that.
Funny Girl in German.
Yeah.
I not quite picture.
We tried to keep the tunes in English, but the dialogues obviously had to be in German. So, and that's where you learn, especially musical, on the technical level, yeah, where the fermatas, where do you have to stop, wait until the curtain is down, wait for the light changes, then you have the ballet, which needs their tempo, and all these things. That's a very good thing. And if something goes wrong, there's at least the drummer in the orchestra who keeps the tempo going. So it's a good start, yeah, somehow, yeah, which is nice. And I didn't consider myself as a conductor at that time. I considered myself as a musician, yeah, because I was learning my job in that time. And so it took me surely 5 to 7 years before I had my first job as a music director at the Graz Opera in Austria. Where I knew, okay, now I'm responsible for what I'm doing, and I have to make decisions. I put in this place for certain reasons, and I could say, okay, I'm a conductor, yeah. But it takes a time to allow yourself to do that.
What did you learn working in Berlin with Daniel Barenboim? What did you learn from him?
He was probably the most amazing teacher I had, yeah. Besides probably the Vienna Philharmonics as an orchestra in working together. But he as a person was very, very strong for me, because in everything he does, everything he thinks, he talks, he rehearses, he performs, everything he does is music, is making music alive. It's not about getting it right or getting a good performance. It's about what is the meaning, how do you make the meaning work, and allowing a certain flexibility. Like, for example, you have a recitative in a Da Ponte opera, where you work on the text, where you work with the singers to get a certain meaning out of a certain phrase, a double meaning or a joke or whatever. So you would try to get out an effect to make this work. But be open for that you can make it in a total different way as well. And try out different things and give it to the singer what to do in the evening. But you said what was the meaning and go for it. And that was probably the most important for me, what I could learn from him. He's very known to change his tempi from one performance to the next one, which keeps orchestras very flexible and singers very flexible.
And interested.
Oh yeah, and keeps it alive. Yeah, and I think that's the most important I got from him. Yeah.